Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. If you're new, welcome. Our Blackhawks team at thehockeywriters.com comes together every week to talk about all things Blackhawks. So make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook. And also be sure to follow all of our content on thehockeywriters.com where you can find all of our articles. And also be sure to follow all of us on Twitter. Our Twitter usernames are right here by our names on the screen. Want to make sure you guys had easy access to that. I am your host for tonight, Brooke LoFurno, and I'm joined by the rest of my Blackhawks family with Gail Kauchuk, Greg Boysen, and Shaun Filippelli. Hi, guys.
Hello.
This isn't, we don't really have a ton of exciting things really to talk about tonight since it's the end of the season, but we do have a lot to discuss about this roster, which is, I guess, kind of interesting. But before we get into that, I also want to let you guys know that we also have an audio version of our show in case our beauty is just too blinding for you guys. I get it. I totally get it. You can just listen to us on Spotify or any of your favorite podcast platform. Okay, so let's get right into this. We're going to talk about goaltending. So Colin Delia, he hadn't seen the ice in over 4 months. He came into the last Carolina Hurricanes series and gave one of the best goaltending performances that we've seen in the recent weeks on this team. He finished the series with a .939 save percentage, which is pretty good. So given his hot back-to-back starts there, did you want to see him finish out the season, or are you guys okay with the fact that it's closing out with Kevin Lankinen last night and then Colin Delia tonight? And Shaun, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I was first and foremost, I was really happy to see Delia get back into some action in any capacity. I think they waited far too long to get him back up into the roster. He earned an opportunity, in my opinion, weeks and weeks ago, especially when the goaltending started to falter here in Chicago, to at least give him a look and see what he could do. So that was frustrating, but at the same time, they turned over a leaf and realized, okay, let's get him some action. So that's been nice to see. However, with all of that said, I think they played it a little bit odd. Especially given Lankinen being the backbone of this team all season and what he's been able to do for this team. I think they should have structured it a little bit differently so that Lankinen could have actually capped off the campaign and really put his best foot forward to close out the season on a high note and really go into the offseason with his head held high because he's had a rough couple weeks himself. So I would have liked to have seen it restructured a little bit where Lankinen actually was playing tonight for their last game of the season as opposed to in their second last game of the season. And in some way, shape, or form, I would have liked them to have more of a rotation between all three, Subban, Delia, and Lankinen, once they were totally out of contention. Let all three of them just rotate through.
Greg?
Yeah, it was good to see Delia get in there and get some games in. He's earned it. It's just such a tough year with the taxi squad, and he's far from the only player even on the Blackhawks, there's young goaltenders all across the league that's kind of gotten the shaft this season, and it's going to stunt some of these guys' development. And you really hate to see it, but it is what it is. It's the cards that we were dealt this season. When he was down in Rockford for a couple games, he met with us after one of the games, and he was very candid, as he always is, about this season, and he was clearly frustrated. Which is easy to understand, but it was good to see him get some games in. I was happy Lankinen got a really good game to finish off the year last night. He was fantastic. That's what I think we all wanted to see after he kind of struggled a little bit there for a few games. So hopefully Delia can finish out strong. And I think next year the plan will be to have more of a traditional tandem throughout an 82 games season with Delia and Lankinen, and kind of ride the hot hand when you can, flip and flop, maybe 50 games for one, 30 for another, somewhere like that, and then really figure out who the guy is going forward. But with the way this season was, it was tough, and you just gotta make the best out of a bad situation.
Gail?
Okay, well, yeah, I'm pretty much on board with what they decided to do for the last 2 games of the season. Lankinen has established himself as the number one netminder, so he definitely deserved a game in front of the home crowd. And like Greg said, it was just really awesome to see him do well and able to strut his stuff and have the fans there cheering him on. But that being said, I also think, you could argue that Subban also deserves the hometown crowd. It was too bad they couldn't have had 3 games where they each got one. But I think it makes sense with the fact that Delia did so well in the Hurricane series, and he has not had a lot of games, that he was given that other game in front of he's going to be given that game in front of the crowd. The irony here is obviously that we're recording on Monday night, and the game is, by the time people see this, the game will have already happened. So good luck to Delia tonight, and I hope he does well, and I hope he finishes out strong. And no matter what the netminder position is in the offseason, I definitely think that Delia has written himself back into the conversation.
Yeah, I see all of your guys' points. I think if Colleton would have decided to start Delia back to back here to end the season, I don't think I would have been mad about that, but I do agree with the rotation, only because, we still are in kind of a struggle with our starting goaltending. I think it's always going to be this way until we really establish a number one, which I know Lankinen is, but for what it is, it should be, I think, consistently rotated between who's kind of the hot one, like Greg said at the time. So I'm totally fine with riding out Kevin Lankinen last night and Delia. And like you guys said, hopefully they start out or end strong. That'd be really nice for them since they both had some adversity this season. But yeah, I'm totally okay with the rotation like you guys are. So now I want to move on to, like I said in the beginning, about the roster this season. I want to talk about how we have a lot of free agents coming. We have a lot of free agents going into the off season here, like with Nikita Zadorov and Pius Suter. And Suter is actually someone I want to talk to you guys about because he's one of the free agents that are pretty highly coveted, I think. And he would talk to the media 4 days ago, I believe, and he talked about the fact that he's confident that we will get a contract with him for him to return next season. So I want to ask you guys, he's obviously had a very successful season this year. He's 4th on the team in points and goals. So he's someone you probably like to bring back. But I want to ask you guys, in your opinion, how important is it for you to bring back Suter? Gail, start with you.
Yeah, I really do think that the Blackhawks are going to make signing Suter a priority. Like you said, he is 4th on the team. He in production. He's been centering the top line most of the season, and he's done well in that position. He's also flexible in that he can play on the wing. And so, next season, when and if Jonathan Toews and Kirby Dach come back, and you have your center depth. Maybe Suter can play, he can play on the wing. He has that flexibility to play center. And I think that, he fits in well with the team and he's versatile, and that's what they're looking for. And, I think that they can make a pretty reasonable deal where everybody's happy. So I think they'll keep him around, and I'm looking forward to it.
Shaun?
That's extremely important that they re-sign Suter for obvious reasons, given what he showed that he's capable of through this year. But most people might not realize sort of the depth of his resume and what he's been able to accomplish before he hit the NHL. Obviously, there's likely going to not be much debate here across this panel that the NHL is the best hockey league in the world on the men's side of things anyway. And, with that said, it's a different beast, clearly. But what he was able to do to have an impact from the moment he stepped on the ice here with the Blackhawks has been impressive. I mean, he's been streaky at best, but there's nothing to frown at in that respect, because here's a guy who came in his rookie year and essentially was up at the top of the leaderboards of the rookie race in a lot of categories throughout most of it. So despite the fact that he's been streaky, those good streaks showed promise for what he's capable of moving forward. He's a 24-year-old. He's a former MVP over in the Swiss League. He's a guy that fits the mold with this rebuild, let alone being potentially a leader of this rebuild, right in that sort of interesting pocket of, turning 25, getting into the prime years of his career. And he can really, he looks like he's going to really be poised to carry a lot of play for this team moving forward. So definitely very important to get Suter locked up.
Greg?
Yeah, I think he'll be back. He's a restricted free agent, so the Hawks have the right of refusal before. So it'll be much like Kubalik last year. And I think he'll probably get the same type of deal, probably not for as much money. But he'll probably get that 2-year deal, so he'll still be a restricted free agent after the 2 years. So you have that time to kind of make up your mind if you want to lock him in long term or see if he deserves bigger money. So I would expect to see him signing like a 2-year deal this summer, and he's been very good. Shaun said he's been streaky. That's kind of expected for first-year players, even though he's older, but he's still a rookie in the NHL. And the difference between the NHL and the Swiss League, it's a pretty big difference. So he's definitely has a lot to improve on. I'd like to see him get a little stronger on the puck and a little better when he doesn't have the puck. There's some defensive lapses, but again, he's learning this league at the top level. So hopefully he can take those lessons in the summer into a workout program, into the video room, and then he comes back a better player next year. And so yeah, I think he will be back here for the foreseeable future. It's a very good pickup.
Well, and a lot was asked from him this year too. I mean, I think to both of your guys' points, if some of the players weren't injured that I mentioned, he wouldn't have been asked this much, and he really actually, performed above what they really wanted him to. So
he looked ready.
For sure. I mean, he
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, he had most of his success in winning MVPs in Switzerland playing on the wing. He did play some center, but a lot of his success came on the wing. So they kind of took him away from his comfort zone. And he performed very well, and those are things that definitely are an added bonus to and make you hopeful that it will be good for a while.
Yes, I definitely agree with everything you guys are saying. I like the fact of how versatile I think he could be in the future. Plus, we need depth. This team needs depth, and he's perfect for that. But I am a little nervous because obviously this team has a lot of work to do, and I think this will be a pretty busy offseason. And I really hope this isn't like a Dominic Cahoon situation, like where he was a player that we knew could be a good depth piece and then he was traded. So I hope that's not the case, because I do think he is really important, and we do need to keep these good players around. We can't keep giving up these type of depth players. That's just going to kill us in the future if we keep doing that. So I'm all for it. I think it does need to be a priority. I think he needs to stay, but I guess we'll see what happens. But maybe in the realistic side, I would be really, really, really shocked if he wasn't here. I think he's a pretty safe bet.
Sure. Yeah.
So speaking of rookies, one of the rookies that stuck out this week is Mike Hardman. He was an undrafted free agent signing out of Boston College, signed in April and played right away. And the coaching staff has not wanted to take him out of the lineup, and he seemed to have found a home on the fourth line. He even got his first NHL goal in the Carolina Hurricanes series. So I want to ask you guys, what stands out to you guys about Hardman in his game? Remember, guys, not to be confused with Ryan Hartman. I sometimes get confused when I hear his name, but it's not him. So, Greg, what do you think?
Well, the biggest thing that stands out, obviously, literally, is his size. He's got that size, and there's one reason you shouldn't confuse him with Ryan Hartman, because he's much bigger. In a team that almost all their top skill players are on the smaller end of things, to have a guy with his size sticks out. I'm always traditionally a little leery about undrafted college free agents. For the most part, they're kind of, okay, go have fun in the AHL. Every once in a while you hit a jackpot. So I'm not ready to put Mike Hartman's name on the, I just said Hartman. See, you got me doing it.
Sorry.
I'm not ready to put him in the long-term plans for the Blackhawks, but he's been nice. He goes to the dirty areas of the ice. He's a north-south player, uses his side to his advantage. He's had a real nice start here. So we'll see what happens next year. I could definitely see him when we get into a more traditional season, maybe being a good contributor down in Rockford and being one of those guys that are kind of like the first guy called up in a long season. But he's been impressive, and we'll see what happens.
Gail?
Okay, definitely size, his physicality. Those are some things that the Blackhawks don't really have a whole lot of right now. So that's nice. We all roll our eyes at this stat, I know, but in his first 7 games played, and he'll play again tonight too, so I'm sure he'll add to this. 30 hits in 7 games. But besides just running around hitting people, he brings a little bit of skill and some good hockey IQ. He seems to be like, just a good all-around player. It's great that he has this opportunity. You mentioned his goal. He also assisted on Mackenzie Entwistle's goal the other night. So they built up some nice chemistry, which is good to see. It's just really nice to see that he has an opportunity to, to get in at the end of the season and to play. And, I'm excited to see more of him next season and what he can bring.
Shaun?
I've loved seeing the drive out of Hardman. He came, like you guys said, right out of college, straight into the Blackhawks lineup, and he hasn't left since, especially as a fourth liner. That's a tough feat to do. I mean, there's a lot of different players we could have infused in and out in the meantime, but he's obviously impressing the right people where he's still maintaining his minutes and keeping that spot. I don't want to repeat the numbers that I've already been said, but the reality is this is a kid that's coming in as a 22-year-old, averaging over 4 hits a game so far. That's more than Zadorov, who, currently leads the team in hits throughout the entire season. So frankly, as far as I'm concerned, if Hardman's coming in as a good replacement of that physicality that hopefully Zadorov will not be providing to the Blackhawks next season, then that's an even greater foreshadow because obviously they're going to need that kind of physicality. So him showing that and his love of the game, kind of going straight from college, straight to the NHL, it's been impressive to see. So I hope they keep him around, and as Greg sort of alluded to, he can continue to strengthen out that big frame of his, and hopefully the production will follow.
It's a good point because the team basically pays Zadorov for that physicality, and if Hardman can do that in like a short span of 7 games, holy heck, they might have a gem there. But I see where you guys are going with the fact that he's probably not a long-term piece, but he's fun for what it is right now. It's fun having players come in that actually have something to play for. They have some incentive. So it's going to be entertaining. But something that sticks out to me about him is the fact that you don't really hear his name. It's like a long snapper in football. It's like if you don't hear their names, that's a very good thing. So you never really hear his name. And if you do, it's usually for good things. Because on this team, if you hear someone's name a lot like Zadorov's, it's usually for something really bad. So that's what I kind of like about him. He kind of just effectively flies under the radar. And we kind of like those underrated players. They're easy to root for and they're fun to watch. So that's what kind of sticks out to me about him. So we are halfway through the show, so this is your reminder to, if you're tuning in, welcome. You can find all of our content for Blackhawks Banter and our regular Blackhawks content at thehockeywriters.com. You can follow all of us on Twitter. Our usernames are right here on the screen next to our name for all things hockey talk. You could also listen to our show on your favorite platform, or your favorite podcast platform, if you don't want to watch us, unfortunately. And make sure to follow, and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook. So moving on, this is actually something that I saw on Twitter. So I kind of wanted to bring it up, actually. There were some Blackhawk fans that were debating about if this was a longer season, where would the Blackhawks be? And obviously the team was fighting for that 4th and final playoff spot. And that was really shocking coming into this, but they were right up there right till the very end. So I want to know what you guys would think if this was in its regular 82 game season, but still in the same division, not in our regular division, still same division. Do you guys think they would have made the playoffs? Shaun, I want to start with you.
No, I don't, unfortunately. I was right on that train when they started getting those wins that, let's go full force. Why not? Let's see what they can do. But, as we alluded to before the season started, as we saw in blips throughout, even as they were winning, we saw some of where they were faltering. And once that all came crashing down to earth as far as what this team really is, and things averaged out, and we saw what they were actually capable of with this particular construct, it was obvious that they're not playoff bound, and they shouldn't have been, they should never have been. So the fact that they were in that spot and owned it was a surprise in and of itself. The second that spot was lost, they were going to be chasing it the whole way through. And I foresee that that's exactly what would have been happening the rest of the way here. Especially like you said, Brooke, if they were going to be in the same division with the same setup, that just means they're going to be playing Tampa Bay and Nashville even more than they already have. And we've seen how that worked out. So there's no way to sort of look at this and predict that they would have been in any better of a situation than where they currently are. With all of that said, I don't want to make it sound like this has been all lost, because it hasn't. We've obviously seen what they can do and what they're capable of, and that's been a fun ride to ride along with. So it's been great to see what these rookies and this team has come together to accomplish, but no, there's no way they should have been a playoff bound team.
Gail?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. In an 82 game season, I mean, it would be more spread out. You know, they might have a chance to, you know, beat Nashville a couple more times. But I still think that, yeah, no, their competition, you know, well, obviously, you know, you've got the Hurricanes, the Panthers, the Lightning. Dallas is above us. The Predators are above us. And, you know, even if you took it and put it back to the regular divisions, you know, they might have an opportunity because things are a little bit more spread out to win some more games. But in the long run, I still also don't think that they would end up in the playoffs.
Greg?
Yeah, no, there's no way. This division, even in the traditional Central Division at 8-team season, the weaknesses were exposed, and it just would have been, you know, 26 more games or whatever it is of not scoring on the power play and not playing very good team defense, and you know, yeah, they were there for a while. We all kind of knew it was, hey, let's enjoy this while we can, and you know, they show some flashes of, hey, this could be good in a little while, but you know, it just be games of playing for only 20 or 40 minutes and not, you know, playing a full 3 periods. So yeah, no, it ain't gonna happen. I'm thankful it's only 56 games.
I'm not going to lie, when I saw that question or when I saw people debating that, I was kind of stumped because, you know, we obviously went through that stretch where things were really good and they were really hot. But then, like we kind of all expected, we kind of knew they were going to come back down to earth. And it would be interesting to see maybe what they would do in an 82 game series. Like, would they get hot again or just stay flat? I mean, realistically, we probably know even in an 82 game setting, they wouldn't make it still, like you guys said, but still kind of interesting to think about. I think maybe something like that would probably benefit Dallas if they had a longer season. Maybe they would be in it instead of the Predators. Who knows? But yeah. I mean, I see where you guys are going. It seems like it would just kind of prolong the misery, or so probably not, but it's kind of interesting to think about. Especially it'll be interesting because going into next season when we are going to be in our regular divisions and the 82 game season, that's probably even more difficult than this one. But yeah, probably not, but who knows? This team was kind of really weird. Maybe they would have gotten hot towards the end there. Still wouldn't have made it, but who knows? Entertaining, at least.
I think that, you know, you asked if they would make the playoffs, and I think we're all answering no to that. But if they had more time, I think that they would improve. They would have gotten better. And I think that they, you know, I mean, they're developing and they're learning and they're growing. Sorry, I say learning and growing all the time. But I think that they would have gotten better if they had more games. So there's that.
Yeah, I think so too, especially maybe against Nashville. Maybe if like the final like 2 months or something in a regular season, if it was just against Detroit, Columbus and stuff, maybe they would have had a shot, or I don't know, who knows. But yeah, I think we all kind of realistically know that probably isn't realistic even in the 82 game sense, but it's kind of interesting. So now we have to go back to our players. Dylan Strome's not a rookie, so he's kind of not part of that discussion, but still one of our young players that really needs to be talked about. I know we talk about him every week, but it has to be talked about again, unfortunately. This is another one. If you keep hearing Dylan Strome's name, it's usually for not very good reasons this year. But he's been a healthy scratch now 4 times in the past 10 games. John Dietz, who was the head Blackhawks writer for the Daily Herald, had said last night that he thought that Dylan Strome was going to be scratched again, but he's not. So he's in. Gaudette's out. That's irrelevant. Anyways, so he's been a healthy scratch lately. He struggled a lot this season. In his last game, he was a -5. So it kind of seems like an indication at this point that he's fallen out of favor with this team. And the other thing is he's one of the highest paid players on the roster. I think he's 5th on the roster for the price tag. So I want to ask you guys, do you agree with Colleton's decision to frequently bench him as of late? Gail?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that he's playing tonight. I think they kind of threw him a bone for this last game here to help him save face a little bit. In my opinion, I'm pretty sure that the Blackhawks have decided that Strome is not part of their future. And if that's the case, then it makes sense to scratch him and not to play him and to see what you have in your other people and your other players. The problem is that Strome just doesn't have a whole lot of flexibility and adaptability to his game. He plays great when he plays on the top lines, when he plays with DeBrincat, and when he plays with Kane. Well, he doesn't play great, but he plays the best when he does that. He plays best at center. He struggles when he doesn't have somebody like that to complement him, and he struggles at wing. So all those things make him not real adaptable. And then you've got all these younger players that have, we just talked about Suter. We just talked about how he can play center, how he can play wing, how he can play up and down the lineup. So I just don't think he fits in with the Blackhawks anymore. And I would be really, really surprised if he's still with them next year. Greg?
Yeah, I think tonight will be his last game in a Blackhawks uniform. It's disappointing. I had high hopes for Strome this season. Yeah. I'm all for accountability, but I want to see accountability across the board. Strome's getting, benched all the time here lately, but you see guys that make constantly the same mistakes, and yet they don't miss a shift. So you can't throw the book at one guy and let everybody else just do whatever the heck they want. It's got to be, the same rules need to apply for everybody. That's where I have an issue with it. I think Strome's been mishandled. Granted, he struggled, and that's on him, but he's also been mishandled. You mentioned Gail. He plays best at center, and he plays best with Alex DeBrincat. What has he barely done this year? Play center and play with Alex DeBrincat. It is the coach's job to put a player in the position to succeed, and that just didn't happen. Colleton kept trying square peg, round hole with Strome, and it just wasn't going to work. So put the guy where he's comfortable and where he can play the best and produce. I don't get why they just didn't want to do it. So I expect him to be traded this year. The problem is you've completely destroyed any trade value you had for him because you've exposed him as he's not a winger and he can't play with anybody but Alex DeBrincat. And now what are you going to get for him? Probably a bucket of pucks, maybe. So you've mishandled it. I think it's time for everybody to just move on. Best for both the Blackhawks and Strome. And, maybe he can hook up and get another fresh start somewhere. I think tonight, if you're a big Dylan Strome Blackhawks fan, get your record tonight's game because it's going to be the last one we see him in a Hawks uniform.
Oh my gosh. Shaun?
Yeah, backpacking off of Greg's thought and theory there as far as accountability. I mean, we've been preaching all season towards players who haven't been getting the job done to get them out of the lineup. So I certainly agree with Colton in this capacity where Strome's not doing what he's there to do. So a change needs to be made. I'm not going to argue with Greg's point about Colton should have been putting him in positions to set him up for better success. I certainly agree with that for both Strome's sake and the team's sake. But the reality is there is still accountability on the athlete to show up to perform. And obviously Strome hasn't done that as of late. It's been tough to see. I mean, I'm a fan of Strome. I liked Strome joining Chicago. We saw a little bit of an uprise when he did come over, which was nice. Showed a little bit of potential there from a couple of shaky years to start his career after being a third overall pick. But he seemed to have regressed since. So, like the rest here, like the rest of our panel, it seems quite likely that he will not be in a Blackhawks uniform next year, which is unfortunate because it looked like there could have been some promise with even if he and DeBrincat would have stuck together the whole way through, I would have been fine with that. I didn't care about the versatility. If that worked, then let it play as it will. But obviously we haven't seen much of that. Who knows if we'll see it tonight, but it doesn't seem we're going to see it much in the future.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too about accountability because we've been preaching about that a lot on this show the past few weeks. And I do think Colton has gotten a bit better, like when he started doing the goalie changes mid-game and when he actually healthy scratched the door off. So I think he's getting a little better maybe about it. But so I get that. But I feel like I have been hard on Strome a lot this year, but I think it's been pretty warranted because of the fact that he waited so long and held out for that big contract, and then all of a sudden he stopped playing. And to me, like I said, that kind of irks me really bad, especially when you got rookies like Hardman and Suter and Vinny. I know Vinny's not a rookie, but you get the point that they have made more of an impact than him at a fraction of the cost. And so I do agree with Colleton actually on that, because also I think the games that he has been scratched, it's not like we were actually sitting there during the games thinking, oh my gosh, we need Strome in there right now for this. Otherwise, it wasn't like that, which kind of to me also seems like an indication that he'll be gone after this season. But it is a definite another kind of brain cramp thinking about, would he have success with anyone else, any other team, if really he only has success with DeBrincat? Kind of goes hand in hand, So yeah, I would be really surprised if he is back next season, and hopefully, I hope he has a good sayonara game or whatever to at least kind of just feel good. But yeah, definitely agree with it.
He's gonna score 2 goals tonight.
Right, exactly. He's gonna have a DeBrincat night tonight.
Colleton will throw him up with DeBrincat and they'll go nuts.
The Twitter meltdown would be fabulous if that happens. We've all predicted he's going to be gone, so he'll be back next year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Watch. Suter will be gone and Strome will be back. Right.
He'll be the top center opening night next year.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So to wrap up this show, so obviously tonight is the season finale against Dallas. They won last night. It's a really good win, actually. Probably the best we've seen them play in a while. And so I guess this is our final show to be able to say, what are the keys for the team to beat Dallas tonight? Again, and kind of end the season on a high note, coming out with back-to-back wins. So, Greg, what are the keys to defeating Dallas tonight?
My key really has nothing to do with winning or losing, because at this point, whatever. Stay healthy, no injuries. It's a shorter off season than we're used to. These guys are gonna be back on the ice in September. You don't want to start a shortened off season rehabbing some sort of injury. So especially some of these older, we've lost a couple guys here in the last few weeks. So at this point, it's a game. Go out and win, play your hardest, have fun, do something for the fans, but nobody get injured. That's my key.
Shaun?
Yeah, I'll couple my keys with what I expect and what I hope to see out of this team. I want to see them come out tonight as an epitome and a microcosm of what they showed us when they were able to have those successful runs. I want to see that power play go off and, go 3 for 4. I want to see goaltending that's just out of this world. I want to see them be creative and just have fun. I want to see a team that's out there confident, happy to be playing the sport that they love and actually showing some promise for what's to come. I really do expect to win tonight, and I think that a win tonight will solidify the fact that they can actually start next season on a more victorious path.
Gail?
Okay, so, obviously in order for them to win tonight, Delia is going to have to, he's going to have to be ready. He's going to have to play like he played against the Hurricanes the other night. Stars want to win too. They've got some pride too. They lost last night, so they're going to come at him with everything they've got. So Delia's got to be ready. Defense has to be ready as well, of course. And I might be being greedy here, but I certainly would love to see. I know he's got 31 goals, but I would love to see DeBrincat score another goal and end the season with a 7-game goal streak instead of 6-game goal streak. That would be really, really fun. And I know that Kane has assists coming out of his behind, but gosh, wouldn't that be awesome if he could score a goal tonight? So I guess it's not really keys. It's just kind of a wish list to me. Hinostroza has been kind of quiet lately, so it would be fun to see him do something and maybe put an exclamation point on that. Hey, sign me for next season. So we'll see. I just hope, hopefully they can, even if they don't win, it'll be a good, positive game that they can end up on a high note.
Well, I mean, I know you said that's not exactly keys, but I think they are pretty good keys if DeBrincat can keep scoring and, Kane can still do his thing and, Vinny contributes, and yeah, that surely will help them win. But so, hey, you did both. But I don't really think they need a lot of keys for tonight. It seems like we have Dallas's number for whatever reason. I think, have we beaten them 6 times or something this season already? So, I mean, I think just in general, they have a good chance to beat them just because of that. But usually I also notice the Hawks usually do end on a pretty high note, even when they've missed the playoffs. They've usually ended their seasons with a couple wins. So it would be fun though, like you guys said, to just go out on a high note, have fun. Hopefully the young players contribute for some more pretty plays like yesterday. But yeah, definitely do have a head on a swivel though too, because Dallas is still Dallas. They still have a lot of good depth, and they probably could have scored like 5 goals last night if it wasn't for like really good defensive stops. So, it should be a fun night. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really sad actually that it's going to come to an end after tonight.
I know. What are we going to do?
I know. I mean, we could still watch the Stanley Cup Finals, but it's not the same.
We could watch the playoffs with, good hockey teams. That won't suck.
Well, right. Okay. So when do the playoffs start again? Like, right. We have to wait for Vancouver to finish up.
I don't think they know. Yeah. I think we're still waiting on that. That's a weird situation.
Still a week or two away, I would say 10 days, something next week.
About a week or so at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be kind of nice to see actual good hockey, but it's still not the same. It's still not the same when it's not us.
We can watch Vancouver versus Calgary 6 times in the next week.
Yeah.
That will be terrible.
Oh, yeah. They'll make us feel
Vancouver.
But all right, guys. So that ends this episode of Blackhawks Banter. Thank you to Greg, Shaun, and Gail for joining me tonight to talk about this team. We love doing this every week. If you're a new viewer, welcome. We discuss everything, all things Blackhawks every week here on YouTube and Facebook for Blackhawks Banter. You can follow all of our content on thehockeywriters.com. You can follow us on Twitter with our names right there on the screen. And you could also listen to us on Spotify or other favorite podcast platform. And thanks again, guys. Go Hawks tonight. Happy season finale.